Yes, ma'am. We are in live now.
We are live, doctor. Over to you.
Good evening, namaskar, pranam, adab, and sat sri akal, and welcome to everybody to this episode and this evening today, where we are going to look at something very, very, very important. Not just India, but the world's problems have just grown bigger. And when I say bigger, it's a pun because what is growing bigger is the size of people on this earth. And the Lancet says in a recent study that 50 crore individuals in India, 50 crores, not 50 crore Indians will be obese by 2050. And that is likely to be one third of the country's population. On a lighter note, somebody like me staying in Mumbai in matchbox houses where 10 people stay in one BHK flat are worried how are they going to accommodate this increase in size. But on a more serious note, it is a far deeper consequence that we have to look at. And I'm very happy that the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, via its multiple programs, especially the IPK Bath, which is being taken to the community, has taken upon itself to make a film on obesity. Last year, we had an entire month and the rest of the year dedicated to obesity. But now we have made a film on obesity. And to tell you more about today's evening and take you through the proceedings, I invite our very dear Honorary Secretary General, Sir, Professor Dr. Yogesh Bhai Parikh, to welcome all of us and tell us what is in store for us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you Dr. Yogesh Parikh.
Yeah. Good evening, all the respected seniors and dear colleagues. I warm welcome on this World Obesity Day. I welcome our ever smiling President, Dr. Vasant Khaladkarji, President-elect, Dr. Neelam Mohan Madam, our beloved President, Dr. G. Basavaraj, today's chief guest in absentia, Supriya Tai, Dr. Deepak Ugraji, and Dr. P.S.N. Menon, sir, our guest of honor, and Rahul Seth, today's movies actor Hit Sharma, Sanjay Kenny, and Dr. Miss R.C. there. So I welcome all of you on this World Obesity Day. And we all know at our Dr. Samir Dalwai mentioned, this day is already having a very much important in our pediatric practice, and it is dedicated to raising awareness about the one of the most presenting health challenges of our time. So today we have two programs. One is Disha 2, our U-turn, the movie release. In the first occasion, we have a release the Disha 1, and it was on the very important topic on the substance abuse. And now we are giving U-turn, specifically U-turn to the obesity. So this film that promise to shed light on the complexity and what are the struggles associated with the obesity and its complications. So it is a global epidemic that affects millions of the individuals and any age or gender and any socioeconomic status. So it is a condition that not only impact the physical health, but also take a toll on the mental and social and the emotional well-being. So as a healthcare professional, as a pediatrician, it is our duty to address this important issue with the urgency and the seriousness. So today we are celebrating we are observing this World Obesity Day with the two important tasks. And one is the Disha 2, and second is our endocrine chapter having a panel discussion with the transforming fat to fit. This movie is not just a movie, it is powerful narrative that captures the essence of the battle against the obesity. Though its storyline and relatable that are the characters, all these our Sanjay Kenny, Heath, and under the direction of the Rahul Seth. Now Rahul is now our family member in the IAP, and he is more visible and known to all of us. So these films give the highlights and the importance of the making informed lifestyle choices and the seeking support and the embracing the holistic approach to the health and the wellness. So I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the filmmakers and the idea of our beloved President, Dr. Vasant Khaladkarji, and all the characters for their dedication and the hard work in bringing the important story of their life. So I thanks our endocrine chapters president and secretary, Dr. Anurag Bajpai sir and Dr. Ravindra Kumar. Even though he's fighting with some health issue, even though he's taken the very much importance than this day, we are having a panel discussion with our own guest of honor and the PSN Menon sir. So now I thank you everyone for being here today and for your commitment and making the difference, because I observed there's so many groups today, so many chapters, so many our branches and the city branches, state branches, and individuals have creating the awareness across the country, and all the social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, or the Instagram, everywhere our all the IP members have 48,000 members have contributed for creating awareness about the obesity. So let us continue to work together to combat this complex issue of the obesity and build a healthier, happier world for the future generation. So enjoy the Disha movie and then panel discussion. So thank you very much. Over to you, Samir Bhai.
Thank you very much. That was Professor Dr. Yogesh Bhai Parikh, and thanks for highlighting for us the way the evening is going to pan out. We just spoke about the fact, and it is very important to note that half the world's obese population lives only in 8 countries, and one of them is in 2021. With this problem facing all of us, especially the increase in obesity in children, which is obviously projected into adulthood as well, I now request our President IIP 2025, Dr. Vasant Khalatkar, the man behind this entire scheme of movies that is coming up and creating such a big impact in not just IIP, but in the community as was its true intention. I request Dr. Vasant Khalatkar to deliver his address.
Yeah. Good evening, all. Respected President-elect Dr. Neelam Mohan, Secretary Dr. Yogesh Parekh, Treasurer Dr. Atanu Bhadra, all esteemed faculties, our guest of honor Dr. Deepak Gugra, and chief guest in absentia Supriya Sure, all my contributor for today's program, and all our heroes and heroines of this program, Dr. Miss Heath, my bubbly friend Sanjay, then Arshi, Aryan, these all, and Rahul. I welcome you all on this day of World Obesity Day. Really, looking at the joy of releasing of this film, I think I will definitely gain 2 to 3 kg weight today, like our Heath. But I don't want Heath, मुझे तुम्हारे जैसा नहीं बनना है. So I will, on behalf of IIP, Indian Academy of Pediatrics, which you for rest of the people I don't know, it's a robust organization of 47,000 people, and we are taking lot of care for our children like a Heath. So it's an honor to stand before you today at the launch of Disha 2. That's U-Turn, a powerful initiative by the Indian Academy of Pediatrics. So our serial, we decided with Rahul that it should be Disha. That Disha 1 and now Disha 2. So this film is not just a story. It's a wake-up call. Childhood obesity is often dismissed as just baby fat. But the reality is alarming. And that's why I know, Sanjay, you have started. That's with your standing comedy. India ranks second in the world for childhood obesity, as just now Samir has said, and with over 14 million affected children. If left unchecked, and we pediatricians and endocrinologists will not take care, that obesity is going to lead to several health risks like the diabetes, hypertension, mental health, which struggles due to bullying and social stigma, which is the, I will not lick it, but which is the starting of the child cinema. So you all know that Ispagan, our Society for Gastroenterology that had done today a global strategy for prevention and action that it urges government, healthcare professionals, and parents, school, and industry leaders to take urgent steps in strengthening child obesity prevention program through early life nutrition and education. Implementing school-based health initiative that promotes healthy eating and physical activity, regulating the marketing of unhealthy food to children, and improving food labeling policies, and advocating for policies that creates healthier food environment and reduce socio-economic barrier to healthy living. And this is the need of our. But this IAP के बाद community के साथ we are going since last 1 year, 2 months. It's really impactful factor for our we people to reach to community. And this year we thought that we should go ahead, one step ahead. And that's why the idea of the cinema come in mind. And with the help of Dr. Basavaraja, Dr. Neelam, Dr. Yogesh, Dr. Atanu, and all my 47,000 members, I could make it true. That says dream come true. So you all know, cinema is a force multiplier. It reaches hearts where mere word fails. Unlike digital content that is easily skipped, films create lasting impact. You know, our first film Disha crossed more than 20,000 viewers and won the Lakeview Filmfare Award, proving that storytelling inspires changes. I want to extend my heartfelt appreciation to Rahul Bisset, our brilliant director, along with the talented Sanjay Keni, Arshi Srivastav, Hish Sharma, and Aryan Hanot, whose performances bring this issue to life. A special mention to our IIP National President 2023, Dr. Upendra Kindavadekar, who stars in this film. He is not only a dedicated pediatrician but a natural and spontaneous actor who bring authenticity to the screen. Again, how can I forget our main pillar, Dr. Deepak Gugra, our president 2010, without whom without whom it is just impossible mission. It just last film, Kiran Kumar, our brand ambassador Twinkle Khanna. It's just because of our friend Dr. Deepak and this all team, including Rahul, who gave this. This is because of Deepak Gugra. Deepak, thanks a ton, a lot. Thanks a lot. And Supriya Tai, if in your absence, I really want to thanks. I know you will come after 10 minutes, and you are really great, doing a lot of work. So thank you for coming. Today, I make a heartful appeal to all that whenever there is a release of this film, after that you all will get it on YouTube. Please share this link to all your friends, all your colleagues, and in community, all your patients. So I urge you to broadcast this U-turn on your own through various channels. Let us take this message beyond cinema halls and into every household because awareness can save lives. Together, let us take a U-turn toward a healthier future for our children. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Hai.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khaladkar, for those wise and inspiring words. And now I would like to request our President-elect, Dr. Neelam Mohan ma'am, to please address all of us. It's over to Dr. Neelam Mohan ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samir. It's indeed a pleasure to be here today on the World Obesity Day. Something which has been very dear to me because I've been an hardcore pediatric gastroenterologist, nutritionist, and a liver specialist who've been doing a lot of work in this field for ages. And it's really monumental and a couple of things. I'm so blessed that we have Dr. Basant Kalatkar, who's the president of IAP, who's doing phenomenal job in his seat, Dr. Baswaraja. If it wasn't for him, who would have got the charity money, we wouldn't have been able to see the light of today with this movie. So thank you, Dr. Baswaraja, for ensuring during your tenure that you could come around with some charity money. Dr. Our beloved the secretary who really works very hard and starts the program, Dr. Yogesh and Dr. Atanu. And of course, the to me, the guest of honor, Dr. Deepak Kogra, who's been a dear friend because we've been connected to each other through a common exam. And when we talk about today, three things, my messages would be that there is a change in the definition of obesity for Indians. So, no more in January 2025, the Asian guidelines have come for India and they've changed the definition. No more. We are calling it as overweight above 23 and obese above 25. Now, above 23 is obesity. So, most of us who are attending this might get into the obesity. And when we talk about this, grade 1 and grade 2, they say when your abdominal girth is more than 80 centimeter in women and 90 in men. So we will classify towards obesity and predisposed. So as physicians, we need to take care of ourselves. So I thought this is an important message to say that the definition has changed. The reason for changing is we've realized that the complications like diabetes and heart disease are more. So when we talk about complications, it's not sadly only adults, even children. In India, 1 in 4 adults presently is obese. 1 in 10 children is overweight and obese. That's phenomenal. And we've really got a huge responsibility on our shoulders, not only as physicians, but because it's a multi-pronged approach that we need to take, besides being a physician, our responsibility towards the community. And that's why we are doing this program, because we want to shout and say that even in children, it's not only about adults. Today, I projected a study which was through the media, which I'll share with you all tomorrow. But generally, I wanted to say that we looked at 150 obese children, and to our shock, 80% of them had fatty liver, 42% had abnormal liver enzymes. And when we biopsied 16 of them, they had fibrosis. 38% had even fibrosis, which we would have never thought about. And this is why we are saying it's not about the body, but it's about the effects. But we need to remember when we talk to our children that we've got to be good role model, and we need to remember we don't need to shame them, but just talk about what was beautifully projected in today's paper. I mean, the poster which IAP has come about, which says transforming childhood from fat to fit. We just need to talk positively to our children. And what more, today when the theme was changing system, the lives, wasn't thought about changing the style and getting a movie, because definitely it does have an impact. Rahul, what would we have done without you and your brilliant ideas and brains in directing the movie? Kini, Ashi, and Heath, you look so cute. You don't know me. I'm a Neelam auntie, and it's lovely
Thank
to
you.
see that you're coming for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, you're too sweet, and I look forward to hugging you sometime. And of course, the third star, Upendra, who's been an old friend of mine. So, with those words, Deepak, thanks for your brain. Thanks for introducing all the right people. Thanks for always being there. And of course, it proves that Kashmiri brains are good. And having been married for 30 years, I can understand what the brains are. So, with those few words, I would like to congratulate IAP for this phenomenal work that they are doing. And if the definitions are changing in adults, we need to look into children and understand the importance of visceral fat, not subcutaneous fat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neelam Mohan, ma'am, for your words. And it's not just the definitions, as you mentioned, that are changing. What is changing are the habits of humans. And humans who have been designed to live in the outdoors, explore nature, find their food outside in nature, have grown increasingly more immobile, have grown indoors, and are getting more and more on the mobile rather than being mobile. And I think that is one very important thing that we all need to worry about. I would now like to invite our
We'll
president.
take a U-turn. We'll take a U-turn after the movie.
We'll take a U-turn after that, as she says, and we invite
After the movie.
our president 2024, Dr. Basavaraja, to please deliver his address.
So thank you, Dr. Saviti. Respected our National President of Indian Academy of Pediatrics, Dr. Vasant Kalatkarji. And of course, just now the madam is addressed and created a lot of enthusiasm among the things. President-elect Neelam Mohanji and Dynamics Secretary General Professor Yogesh Parikh and our first National Treasurer of Indian Academy of Pediatrics, Dr. Atanu Badraji, all the office bearers and executive board member and seniors. And today's chief guest of and guest of honor, our honorable past president of Indian Academy of Pediatrics, Dr. Deepak Ugraji, and all others. So today is in a World Obesity Day. The Indian Academy of Pediatrics for over a decade is creating a lot of awareness among the pediatrician. How do we screen for obesity and also the community? But in spite of that, this problem is growing day by day. It is almost becoming a tickling time bomb which is leading on to the lot of metabolic problems, mental health issues, and the many other things like cancer, hypertension, diabetes, all those things. But what is most important as a professional organization like Indian Academy of Pediatrics, which is need to address these issues in a very strict manner so that this problem can be curtailed, where the otherwise India will become a capital of obesity. Now we are already second in the world. Otherwise, we will become a capital of obesity. So that is the reason why we need to come out with a lot of creative ideas. So well thought decision by our honorable president, Dr. Vasant Kalatkarji, coming out with a different thoughts of sending across the messages in a different forum in terms of a Disha 2 movie. It has been well articulated where with a lot of messages with our honorable president of 2023, Dr. Upendraji is also featuring it. And Rahul, I have met him personally, and Rahul Sethji has been very, very innovative and creative, and he has brought up a lot of social and community messages along with his team. So this is the message what our pediatrician needs to share with this with the members and also amongst the parents, so that they can subscribe and they can watch this movie, so that this will be a real game changer in the amongst the common population. So this is where we need to do as a professional organization, creating awareness among the members of our community and as well as the general population also. And other important thing, what we need to look at it, our healthcare professionals, especially healthcare professionals, when you talk about it, not only the pediatrician and the general practitioners and as well as the paramedical staff, they can also play in a bigger role, because COVID-19 is the one thing which is really changed the whole spectrum of diseases, where the whole globe is talking about non-communicable disease. One of the entity is an obesity. So this is where the government of India is focusing on to the addressing a non-communicable diseases that includes your obesity, thalassemia, sickle cell, CHDs, diabetes mellitus, hypertension, all these things is then a main taking in a front thing. That is why where the government of India is coming out with a policy. As a professional organization, we also need to come out with an action plan. That is why So our Honorable President, Dr. Vasant Kalatkarji, came out with this one, and Neelam, our President-elect Neelam Mohan Madam, surely she is going to come out in 2026 something different. That is also going to make whatever the things we are going to achieve this year, and it will be consolidated, and the problem can be curtailed to the maximum extent. With these few words, so thank you very much and best wishes for this. And I request all the members of Indian Academy of Pediatrics, please share this video amongst your members as well as parents. Those are the need, and subscribe. Ask them to connect with an Instagram, Facebook, and other social media. That is going to play in a bigger role, so that whatever we have put in effort, that's going to be useful. The best wishes for this program. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Basavaraj, for your wonderful words. Our guest today, Dr. Deepak Ugra, dear Dr. Ugra, is already here. But before I go to him, I have a pleasant duty to perform. They say an artist's work speaks for itself. But before the work speaks, we have the artist himself. And we have the pleasure to have with us Mr. Rahul Seth, who is the person who has directed and written the story for Disha as well as U-Turn. And we'd like you to share a few words, Rahul bhai.
Thank you, Samirji. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, very, very special thanks to Dr. Vasant for once again, trusting me and enabling me with this whole opportunity to have directed the second film, which is U-Turn. और आइडिया यही था, जैसे लास्ट टाइम भी कहा था कि idea was to come together and spread a message, a positive message, a very inspiring and a motivational message through a short film, which should not be like a documentary, but it should actually be like a proper film, which has entertainment as well as the emotional factor. और जैसा कि आप सब जानते हैं और डॉक्टर वसंत ने भी कहा कि एक अच्छी कहानी, एक अच्छी फिल्म, एक अच्छा गाना, ये दिलों को छूता है, और ये वो बात कह जाता है जो हम अक्सर कई कई भाषणों में नहीं कर पाते. और apart from me having written and directed this film, I'm really, really grateful and very happy that I had such a wonderful team of actors with me. For example, Sanjay Kenny, जिनको आपने इस फिल्म में देखा और आप देखेंगे, वो इस हमारे देश के one of the topmost comedians, stand-up comedy mimicry artist, और he's also been featured in the Kapil Sharma show. आप लोगों ने अगर एक सीरीज आता था ऑगी एंड द कॉकरोचेस एनिमेशन का देखा होगा अगर आप लोगों ने, वेरी वेरी पॉपुलर, उनकी सारे कैरेक्टर्स की सारी वॉइसेस आर डन बाय संजय केनी. And he has dubbed for almost all the leading actors. He has done live shows with all of them. Plus, we have Arshi Srivastava, again a very good actress who's done a tremendous job. We have Heath Sharma. Heath has really performed so well, very natural. Heath, it was so wonderful working with you. And it's
Thank you,
been a
sir.
pleasure, been a pleasure. And also Aryan, because again, he also led it. But, and most of all, we have Dr. Upendra, who surprised all of us, including me as a director, because when he came on in front of the camera और जब उन्होंने बोलना शुरू किया, so I was like, and believe me, he did the entire thing in like the entire section of his, within like in 2 takes, he was done. It's as if he was such a pro, and it was wonderful having worked with him, and I look forward to working with him again in some other project. और समीर जी, थैंक्स टू यू ऑल्सो, आप भी दिशा की शूट पे आए थे, मुझे याद है, डॉक्टर बसवराजू जी के साथ, और आपने भी काफ़ी इंस्पायर और मोटिवेट किया था, और आप भी कहीं ना कहीं इस क्रिएटिव मीडियम से जुड़े हुए हैं. तो इट्स नाइस टू हैव पीपल लाइक यू, लाइक ऑल ऑफ यू. नीलम जी, थैंक यू फॉर योर इंस्पिरेशन, एंड यू ऑलवेज इंस्पायर्ड इवन इन द प्रीवियस प्रोजेक्ट, अभी भी, एंड योर अप्रिसिएशन रियली मीन्स अ लॉट. एंड बस यही कहना चाहूँगा कि इट वॉज अ प्लेजर हैविंग डायरेक्टेड दिस फिल्म, and looking forward to spreading many more messages through many more such wonderful films. And also a big thanks to my entire production team, the company Black Coffee and Smoke Films, and without whom this entire project wouldn't have been possible. So thank you very much, and it's been such a pleasure being here once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul bhai. Just to let you know that the film has become very, very popular. It's been viewed multiple times by many people across, and it's being shared. Also, what I learned from you that day on the sets were how the way you are interacting with the top actors as well as with Dr. Basavaraj, as well as with the spot boy and the tea boy. And you told me that Samir bhai, the key issue in life is to be able to understand the other person from his or her perspective. Only then we can work with 200 people on a film set every day. So I will remember that for life and learn from you. And now, before we go on to Dr. Ipu Gura, I'd like the actors of the film. Dear Sanjay Kini sir is there, Heath is there, as well as Arshi and everybody else. For a few minutes, we'd like you to share your experience with all our members.
I
You can unmute yourselves and share your experiences with us.
हाँ संजीव भाई प्लीज
Sanjeev bhai, Heath, Arshi ji.
बताइए.
Sanjay,
Hey, hi, this is Sanjay Kenny here. सबसे पहले तो यहाँ पर उपस्थित तमाम डिग्नेटरीज, आपके लिए एक सबसे बहुत अहम खबर लाया हूँ मैं कि इंडिया ने ऑस्ट्रेलिया को हरा दिया है चैंपियन ट्रॉफी में. इस सेमीफाइनल हम लोग जीत गए हैं
Excellent.
4 विकेट रखकर, और फाइनल भी जीतेंगे डेफिनेटली 9 तारीख को. तो सबसे पहले ये खुशखबरी मैंने आपको दी है. वेल, ओबेसिटी जब टॉपिक डिस्कस हुआ मेरा और राहुल का, राहुल हालांकि हमने साथ में बहुत काम किया है, लाइव शोज किए बहुत सारे, स्पेशली इंटरनेशनल शोज भी किए हम लोगों ने मुरानीज के साथ, सिनेउस के साथ. सो बहुत अरसे से हम लोग एक दूसरे से जुड़े हुए हैं, मगर पहली बार जब राहुल ने मुझे बताया कि मैं कुछ फिल्म डायरेक्ट करने जा रहा हूँ, जो लिखी भी मैंने है, स्क्रीन प्ले भी मेरा है, म्यूजिक भी मेरा है, मैं बोला ये क्या है, ऑलराउंडर आदमी. सो आई डिडंट नो अबाउट हिम, बट ही टोल्ड मी कि आई हैव प्लान फॉर समथिंग डिफरेंट थिंग, और एक सोशल कॉज वाली फिल्म है. और जो जब उसने मुझे सब्जेक्ट सुनाया तो मैं दंग रह गया, क्योंकि सी, ये जो दोनों फिल्में हैं, दोनों का सब्जेक्ट बहुत कनेक्टेड है आजकल की यंग जनरेशन से. स्पेशली दिशा का सब्जेक्ट तो बहुत 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 सीरियस सब्जेक्ट है, और यू टर्न का सब्जेक्ट जब उसने बताया तो मैं खुद को रिलेट किया उस सब्जेक्ट से, बिकॉज मेरा लड़का जो है 13 साल की उम्र का है. ही लव जंक फूड, एंड ही लाइक, यू नो, थोड़ा सा आजकल के जो बच्चे हैं, हल्का सा वेट पुट ऑन करने के चक्कर में ये सब चल रहे हैं. तो मुझे एकदम दिल से कनेक्ट हुआ वो. अगर राहुल, ये मैं करूंगा ये फिल्म यार, मेरे लिए करूंगा, मेरे बच्चे के लिए करूंगा, और तुम्हारे लिए भी करूंगा. एंड द सब्जेक्ट वाज रियली गुड. एंड जैसे कि हम बोल सकते हैं कि ये बहुत ही अर्ली अलार्म है हमारे इंडिया के लिए, क्योंकि हम लोग सब वेस्टर्न कल्चर को फॉलो कर रहे हैं आजकल, और स्पेशली कल्चर ही नहीं, फूड हैबिट्स भी हमारी वेस्टर्न कल्चर वाली हो रही है. स्पेशली जंक फूड है, कोल्ड ड्रिंक्स है, बहुत सारा सैचुरेटेड फैट हम लोग कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं. फिजिकल एक्टिविटी नहीं है हमारे पास आजकल. स्पोर्ट्स हम लोग खेल रहे हैं, वो भी नॉर्मल स्पोर्ट्स नहीं है, बल्कि वीडियो गेम में हमारा वक्त गुजर रहा है. जो नई जनरेशन है, तो उनके लिए फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज बिल्कुल नहीं हो रही है. स्ट्रेस लेवल इतनी बढ़ गई है कि पूछिए मत. कि पहले तो हम लोग खेल कूद के सीख रहे थे, एजुकेशन ले रहे थे, मगर आजकल बच्चों के सर पे तलवार है. माँ बाप बोलते भाई मैं तुम्हारे लिए मैं इतना खर्चा कर रहा हूँ, 1.5 लाख 2 लाख ईयरली, तो यू शुड बी टॉपर इन योर क्लास. वो स्ट्रेस लेवल भी कई तरह से अफेक्ट करता है बच्चों को. सो ये जो डिस्कस हुई बात, तो इट्स रियली एन ऑसम सब्जेक्ट टू टैकल वेरी अर्ली, और मुझे सचमुच बड़ा मजा आया ये फिल्म करने में. एंड थैंक यू सो मच IIP एंड ब्लैक कॉफी एंड स्मोक फिल्म्स for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. It tells us how deeply you
Thank you, Sanjay.
the subject. Heath, quickly, couple of words from you.
हेलो एवरीवन, गुड इवनिंग.
Good evening. Good
मुझे
evening.
काफी ज्यादा मजा आया, और मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकता, मुझे इतना मजा आया. और स्टोरी लाइन भी मुझे काफी अच्छी लगी. स्टोरी भी अच्छी है, और मुझे काफी ज्यादा मजा आया सर के साथ और पूरी टीम के साथ. काफी ज्यादा एंजॉय किया हमने, बहुत अच्छे से शूट किया. और जब मैं फर्स्ट टाइम सेट पे गया, तो मैंने स्क्रिप्ट आई थी तो मैंने वो देखा, तो मुझे लगा अरे यार ये कैसे होगा, पर लेकिन जब मैंने किया, तब मैंने स्क्रिप्ट को समझा, तो मुझे काफी ज्यादा मजा आया. और काफी स्वीट थे डायरेक्टर सर, वैसे तो मैं दिखता हूँ पर लेकिन मैं बहुत हेल्दी हूँ, मैं जंक फूड नहीं खाता हूँ, बट लेकिन मुझे
आज
काफी
ये
ज्यादा
है
मजा आया।
खाना भी मत।
हाँ, नहीं खाऊंगा मामा। ओके ओके, थैंक यू, काफी ज्यादा मजा आएगा। थैंक यू, थैंक यू, थैंक यू प्रोडक्शन टीम, एंड थैंक यू डायरेक्टर सर।
और
थैंक
गिनी,
यू एवरीवन,
जिस
थैंक यू
तरह
सो
जिस
मच।
तरह फिल्म में जिस तरह फिल्म में डांस किया है, वैसे रोज 1 घंटा डांस करना है।
ओके सर।
हम लोग भी साथ में डांस करेंगे, डोंट
हम लोग
वरी।
भी करेंगे तब साथ में।
थैंक यू सो
मुझे तो
मच।
बहुत पसंद है डांस में, तो अभी भी कर रहा था थोड़ी देर पहले।
वेरी नाइस। गुड गुड गुड।
Keep
ओके
smiling.
ओके,
Keep
थैंक यू सर।
smiling. Thank you so much, and God bless you. And now it's a very, very special guest for us, our past president, but somebody who's been a teacher and who loves to teach, one of the most accomplished clinicians and teachers and academicians of IAP, dear Dr. Deepak Gura, who has been instrumental in helping put together this entire team of people, especially he brought in Rahul ji, Kiran ji for the last film as well. And all of us know him, so he doesn't need any introduction. Even now, he is in the hospital at Lilavati, I think, looking after some sick baby. Hats off to you, bhai, and it's over to you for your few words.
Thank you, Samir. At the outset, I must congratulate and must thank the President of 2025, Dr. Vasant Khalatkar, and also ably accompanied by President-elect 25, Neelam Mohan, and President of IIP 2024, Dr. Basav Raj. I also congratulate the Secretary of IIP, Dr. Yogesh, and convener of the meeting for the day today, Samir. Uh, I would say it's a very big day for our academy, for Indian Academy of Pediatrics. And one thing that came to my mind, and I would say very important to highlight, is that if we want to convey the message, if we want to be uh, with the people, and we have to give a message in a very convincing way, we have to hit the right chord. If you look at the disease pattern among the children, especially in the middle class, upper middle class, affluent class, it is shifting in our country also. Uh, we are at a place where the developed country, the whole population is today. The bacterial infections are replaced by allergies, by viral infections. And the main thing that is worrying most of us is the lifestyle related diseases. And in adolescence, about the drug abuse. So President Dr. Vasant Khalatkar has picked up the topics in such a brilliant way that he has addressed one of the most important problems that we are facing and are going to face for the next few years in such a way that both the movies, Disha on drug abuse and U-Turn on obesity, have positive message. The end is positive. That if we leave drugs, what happens? How beautifully we can change our life. And if we uh, do exercise, if we avoid junk food, how we can control our weight, and what obesity can cause, and what we can achieve if we, get rid of the obesity. Uh, my sincere congratulations to IAP. If we go back 2010, we made a serial by the name of Parvarish where we tried to highlight few uh, health problems of children through a talk show, through a panel discussion where the pediatrician and parents came together with an anchor. 2021, Dr. Piyush Gupta made one of the best ever anywhere in the world guidelines for the parents on various issues, right from welcoming a child in our family to adolescent problem. And now in 2025, Dr. Vasant has taken a step further high and giving beautiful movies. I would say Dr. Vasant can come out, and I'm sure he must be having in mind to have some more very, very valid uh, health issues currently, which one of them, which even Samir is sitting here, is the childhood disability. I think various state governments, central government, they're all working on this field of pediatrics also. So, Dr. Vasan, congratulations to you, the whole IIP team. Congratulations to you. Keep doing good job. Keep doing this work. And it's so heartening to see that an educational movie is winning an award, the first ever award that an educational movie on the platform of IAP has won. So I wish all the best to all of you to come forward with new movies on new current issues and perform and get many more awards. And most important, convey very positive and strong messages to the public on these very important health issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Deep.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deepak. I would like to request our treasurer, Dr. Atanuji, to please respond to what you have said. Dr. Atanuji.
I thank Dr. Deepak sir, because the concept was, of course, President Dr. Vasant sir, helped by past president and president-elect. But without sir, without your help and without your this don't have been materialized. So I thank you, Deepak sir, one of the youngest IAP presidents, I think, and was coming back and helping us use the film and entertainment media to bring out the messages of IAP. We had been doing it with print media, we had been doing it with audiovisual media, but this time we have made a change and we have added the film and entertainment. Thank you again for coming in, helping the whole team to get together and guide our president to have this film on the board. Thank you, sir.
I'm humble, sir. Thank you so much.
Deepak, I'm really thank you from my bottom of heart. Without your help, it could not be so much possible. Just
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think we'll continue doing it.
credit goes to you. This is for IIT. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this speaks about how IAP as a family works together, everybody supporting each other, and that's why we are able to move ahead year after year. And this year, under the guidance of President Kalatkar, we have moved ahead to this film. We are waiting for our chief guest, Ms. Supriya Sule, but as I am constantly in touch with her team, she is involved in some activity at Pune right now, some public activity going on, some Andolan, and she will join us shortly. But with the President sir's permission, meanwhile, can we go ahead and showcase the film? And when Madam joins, we can immediately have her comments as well.
Go for movie. We can go for movie. Huh? Samir.
Yogesh sir, can we just go ahead with that?
Sure. By the time she will come.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the second feature film of this year, made by the IAP team under the leadership of Dr. Kalatkar, Dr. Neelam, Dr. Basavraj, as well as Dr. Yogesh and Dr. Atanu, and the entire team of Vice Presidents, OB and Executive Board of 2025. We bring to you the second part of the second film in the series, U-Turn.
So, shall I start, sir? Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Go ahead.
कैसे आप लोग? अपन तो बोलते हैं टेंशन लेने का नहीं, देने का। लेकिन ना परसों अपन को ही टेंशन हो गया, क्योंकि भाई ने अपन को बोला, ये सर्किट, वो तेरे मोहल्ले में जो छोटू है ना, उसने अपन को फोन पे तेरा कंप्लेन दिया। बोला तू उसको फुटबॉल खेलने देता नहीं, गायकू। तो फिर अपन भी बोला, भाई वो छोटू नहीं, मोटू है, मोटू। और इतना मोटू कि कहीं गलती से उसको किसी ने फुटबॉल समझ के किक मार दिया ना, तो उसकी और गोलकीपर की तो वाट लग जाएगी, बोले तो डबल दुर्गति हो जाएगी।
What nonsense! ऐसे कोई मजाक करता है क्या? जोक के नाम पे कुछ भी बोलता है, इससे तो मैं
फेंकने से कुछ नहीं होगा मैडम, वो चिप्स का पैकेट भी फेंकिए।
तो इधर बस बहुत हो गया। गो ब्रश योर टीथ। सोना है ना, जाओ, कल स्कूल जाना है।
हे चैम्प, हाय दीदी, इसे क्या हो गया?
वो गुस्सा है तुमसे।
मैंने क्या किया?
क्या किया? तुम्हें शर्म नहीं आती ऐसा बेहुदा मजाक करते हुए? तुमने एक बार भी नहीं सोचा विकी के बारे में? तुम्हें पता है विकी को कितना हर्ट हुआ है?
What? अरे
मतलब आफ्टर ऑल वो तुम्हारा इकलौता भांजा है और तुम ऐसे कर।
एक मिनट आराम से शांति से बैठ जाओ। देखो दीदी, सबसे पहले तो मैंने विकी पर जानबूझकर कोई जोक नहीं मारा। इट वॉज पार्ट ऑफ माई एक्ट। पर तुम खामखा इतना परेशान क्यों रहे हो, इतना सेंसिटिव क्यों हो रही हो?
अच्छा, तो मतलब बॉडी शेमिंग तुम्हारे लिए जोक है?
ओफो, जिस बॉडी की शेमिंग की वजह से तकलीफ हो रही है, क्यों ना उस बॉडी की टेमिंग करें।
व्हाट टेमिंग?
देखो, सपोज हम लोग कहीं ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं और गलती से गलत रास्ता पकड़ लिया, तो फिर हम क्या करेंगे?
हम आगे से यू टर्न लेके सही रास्ता पकड़ लेते हैं।
सही पकड़े जीजा जी। कब से यही समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं इसको मैं।
सुना आपने? यू टर्न, ये बोर्ड किसी भी आदमी की जिंदगी में जो सही रास्ते से गलत रास्ते पर चले जाता है, उसको सही रास्ते पे लाने के लिए बहुत जरूरी होता है। खासकर उन बच्चों के लिए जिनमें अधिकतम मोटापा होता है, दैट मीन्स ओबेसिटी। पिछले 2 दशकों में जो रिसर्च हुआ है, उसके हिसाब से सन 2030 तक भारत में 2,70,00,000 बच्चे ओबेसिटी से ग्रस्त होने वाले हैं। इस ओबेसिटी का प्रभाव सिर्फ बच्चों पे नहीं होने वाला है, पूरे परिवार, पूरा देश इन पे होने वाला है। लेकिन इस विपदा से बचा जा सकता है अगर हम सही टाइम पे सही कदम उठाए और इसे बढ़ने से रोकें। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, विकी और उसके परिवार को ही देखिए।
आई एम सो सॉरी यार संजू, मैंने थोड़ा ज्यादा ओवर रिएक्ट कर दिया। पर विकी को दिन रात ऐसी हालत में देखकर मुझे बहुत दुख होता है।
मम्मा,
हाँ बेटा।
मुझे कल स्कूल नहीं जाना।
पर क्यों, क्या हो गया? कल तो आपका पीटी क्लास है ना, खूब सारा खेलने को मिलेगा।
इसलिए तो नहीं जाना। मैं फास्ट नहीं भाग सकता, इसलिए सब लोग हंसते हैं मुझ पे और मुझे कोई टीम में भी नहीं लेता। इट्स नॉट फेयर।
फिक्र मत करो दीदी, हम सब मिलकर विकी की लाइफ में एक हेल्दी यू टर्न लेकर आएंगे। क्यों जिया जी?
हाँ, ऑफ कोर्स।
बट नो मोर फुटबॉल जोक्स। हाँ,
टेंशन नहीं लेने का, क्योंकि बाकी जोक्स बोलने के लिए मुझे जिंदा भी तो रहना है।
अबे मेरे साले, तू नहीं सुधरेगा। हाँ।
शाबाश विकी बेटे, इस दीदी के साथ थोड़ी देर बाहर जाके खेलोगे? मम्मी डैडी अब भी आते हैं।
Go on, champ. Have fun. We're coming, okay?
ओके। तो सबसे पहले तो मैं आप दोनों का अभिनंदन करना चाहता हूं कि आपने विकी को यहाँ पे लाके एक बहुत ही समझदारी का काम किया। देखिए, बच्चों में उनके एज, हाइट और जेंडर के अनुसार जब जरूरत से ज्यादा फैट जमा होता है, उसको ओबेसिटी कहते हैं। सो विकी की थरो जांच और इवैल्यूएशन के बाद ये पता चलता है कि उसको सीवियर ओबेसिटी है, जो उसके हेल्थ के लिए हानिकारक साबित हो सकती है। तो क्या क्या हो सकता है सीवियर ओबेसिटी की वजह से? सबसे पहले इंसुलिन रेजिस्टेंस और टाइप 2 डायबिटीज, हाइपरटेंशन और हार्ट डिजीज, and then he can have snoring, disturbed sleep and respiratory problems. These are the serious ones. मोटापे की वजह से उसको जोड़ों में दर्द, आर्थराइटिस हो सकता है।
लीवर में ज्यादा फैट जमा होने की वजह से नॉन अल्कोहलिक फैटी लीवर डिजीज हो सकता है, और फिर आयरन, विटामिन डी, ऐसी विटामिन डेफिशिएंसीज भी हो सकती है। इसके साथ में आगे जाके जब ये बच्चा स्कूल में जाता है तो स्टिग्मा और बुलिंग का शिकार हो सकता है, वेरी लो सेल्फ एस्टीम, एंजाइटी, डिप्रेशन, ये सब साइकोसोशल इश्यूज, इनका भी विकी को सामना करना पड़ेगा। बट डरिए मत, ये सब हम रिवर्स कर सकते हैं अगर आप उसके डाइट और लाइफस्टाइल को लेके एक बड़ा यू टर्न लेंगे तो। यू टर्न से मैं क्या कहना चाहता हूं? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, बोथ ऑफ यू नीड टू बी वंडरफुल रोल मॉडल्स। डाइटरी हैबिट्स आपको चेंज करनी, यानी क्या करना है, मैं 4 अहम चीजें बताना चाहूंगा। नंबर 1, आपको जंक फूड से पूरी तरह से दूर रहना पड़ेगा। आपकी खाने की प्लेट आधी फल और सब्जियों से भरी रहनी पड़ेगी। नंबर 3, रिमेंबर वाटर इज द बेस्ट ड्रिंक। एंड नंबर 4, कंट्रोल द पोर्शन साइजेस एंड माइंडफुल ईटिंग। कन्वर्ट योर स्क्रीन टाइम इनटू ग्रीन टाइम। ज्यादा खेलना है, फिजिकली एक्टिव रहना है। Ensure 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Or finally, both of you need to motivate him, inspire him, bring back his good self-esteem so that he becomes confident to overcome the challenges of obesity. Understood?
Sure, doctor. You're right.
हम आज से ही शुरू कर देते हैं।
I'm very happy to hear that. And remember, if you need any support and guidance, I'm always there. So next time जब मैं विकी को मिलूंगा, I'm sure I'm going to find him in much better physical and mental health, right?
Yes, thank you so much, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Great.
अरे
ये तो चीटिंग है।
ये चीटिंग नहीं, हेल्दी ईटिंग है।
अच्छा शीतल, मैं क्या सोच रहा था कि परसों सैटरडे मेरे ऑफिस की छुट्टी है, तो क्यों ना मैं कल का भी ऑफ ले लूं और हम तीनों ना एक लॉन्ग वीकेंड वाली हॉलिडे पे चलते हैं, क्यों?
हाँ।
पापा कल मेरा स्कूल है।
अच्छा,
हाँ तो स्कूल मिस कर देना।
हाँ
मम्मी आपको पता तो है कल फ्राइडे है।
तो क्या हुआ?
पीटी डे, हम बहुत सारे गेम्स खेलेंगे।
ठीक है फिर प्लान कैंसिल।
अब खुश?
यस। मामा आपका सर्किट तो फ्यूज हो गया। अब मैं जोक्स मारूं?
ज्यादा टेंशन नहीं लेने का। मामा भांजे के बीच ऐसा नोक जोक तो होता ही रहता है। ये अपन का सीक्रेट है, किसी को बोलने का नहीं।
देखा आपने इस यू टर्न का कमाल। लेट अस वर्क टुगेदर एंड प्रिवेंट दिस ओबेसिटी, यानी ओबेसिटी को बढ़ने से रोकिए।
मैं शुक्रिया कहना चाहती हूँ टू IAP and the child specialists that work with them. Their experience and knowledge have helped keep our children healthy and will continue to do so. After all, it's the little hands of today that will shape the world of tomorrow.
I think also a U-turn in the careers of two pediatricians I can see. One is, of
Samir,
course, Dr.
unmute,
Vasant
unmute.
Khalatkar, and the
Samir,
second is Dr. Upendra
Samir.
Kitrodekar. But I hope they don't take that U-turn from pediatrics to acting very seriously, because both of them did a great job. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful film. Dr. Vasant Khalatkar, sir, over to you for your comments.
Yeah, thank you, Team IAP and Team Copy. Really, it's a great thing, and really, I'm very much satisfied with this. Everything we are whatever we are doing, if you get a great thing, and that's the output is good, you get a great satisfaction. That's I'm getting, and I know it's a all condition of the mental status of the my all pediatrician. It's like the same. Thank you, Rahul, Sanjay, Heath, Arshi, Aryan. Really, it's a great job you have get done. And really, Rahul, it's a short, crisp message. That is a 18 minutes you have conveyed everything, everything. I know when I go for the shooting, how much I was troubling to Rahul that, अरे यार राहुल ऐसा नहीं होता, बाल ऐसे नहीं हो रहे, चेहरा ऐसा नहीं दिख रहा, everything I was doing. Rahul was saying, sir, Chandri, Chandri, you see the he how is a jolly person, right? Literally. So I really want to meet each and every actor of this like this Arshi Sanjay, and we will have a one get together. Thank you, Yogesh Bhai, Atanu sir for releasing the money. That is very important. Rather, it's very important. And Deepak, definitely we could make it in a very negligible amount, I can say. That's because possible because of Deepak and Rahul only. And my request to everyone is that please, we will share tomorrow YouTube link to everyone. So please spread this message to all community members. Then only we will be have a successful mission. Thank you. once again to serve child, colleagues, and country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any quick comments from somebody else? Because now we move on to the second part of the evening where we have the mission and the team from the chapter of endocrinology, and we are going to have a wonderful academic discussion going ahead. Yogesh, sir, over to you.
Please, before that, I want to say something.
Yes.
Uh, they are all, we are really sorry that our Honorable MP Supriya Tai Sule, who consented to come for this program, but because of some press conference and all this Pune, some issue, she couldn't join. Myself and Samir had a talk with her and she agreed to come. Why we called her, this is not as MP, but our respectable PM Modi ji nominated Abdullah and Mohanlal for campaign against obesity 4 days before. And then they have nominated 10 more that Abdullah sir have nominated Supriyata Sule for this moment task. Thank you, Samir, for our conversation with Supriya Tai. He was instrumental. Unfortunately, he couldn't join. But my request, Samir, to convey our heartfelt thanks to her and make her appeal to that this is not just a film, it's a movement. I urge her to broadcast U-turn across India through government channel and education program. Please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Yogesh Parikh, sir.
So thank you everyone for the wonderful movie, this Disha U-turn on the obesity, and we are releasing on the World Obesity Day. Now the second part following this movie, we have a webinar on the very essential panel discussion on the obesity with the theme we are celebrating transforming the system, healthier lives, and we have a slogan given by our Pediatric Endocrine Society, the move towards the healthier you. And we have a very important discussion on the transforming childhood obesity from fat to fit. And we are inviting our panelists, Dr. Anurag Bajpai sir, Dr. Rajesh Khadgawat, and Dr. our Professor R. Somsekhar, Dr. Saurav Uppalji, and Secretary Dr. Ravindra Kumar. I am proud privileged to introduce our special guest on this webinar, Dr. PSN Menon sir, who is very instrumental for this endocrinal society for the pediatric, and sir has served in the more than 25 years in the AIIMS New Delhi and the professor of the pediatrics, office in charge of the pediatric endocrinology and the genetics division. And sir also served more than 20 years in the Ministry of the Defense at Kuwait Armed Force Hospital and as a consultant and chairperson Department of Pediatrics. Sir has founded this Indian Society of the Pediatric and Adolescent Endocrinology, and he's a founder member, advisor, and the past president of the Asia Pacific Pediatric Endocrinology Society, member of the Governing Council, and the Journal of Pediatric Endocrinology and Diabetes, editor-in-chief. Then Indian Pediatrics, he served as the associate editors, almost as the advisory board member, and for the Indian Journal of Pediatrics also, for the member of the International Advisory Board, editor of the Pediatric Endocrine Disorders. Sir, we have released the IAP text, Partha's IAP textbook of the pediatrics 8th edition during the Hyderabad Pedicon, and sir was as a editor-in-chief. And sir has also served as a editor, PG textbook, the pediatric 4th edition, and author in the Guy Essential Pediatrics 10th edition. Sir has a more than 150 publication in index journal and so many research projects under the ministry and the WHO and the ICMR, DRDO and AIIMS. So I welcome our special guest of today's World Obesity Day, Dr. PSN Menon sir, for the opening remarks of this webinar and introduction of our moderator, Dr. Anurag Bajpai sir.
Yeah,
over to you, sir.
Before that, really, Yogesh bhai, before that, thank you, Menon sir, for your zeal and enthusiasm that you have agreed for this panel discussion on the day of World Obesity Day, and your team, like Dr. Anurag, Dr. Ravindra. This really shows IIP is running high because of people like you and everything. It's a 10 o'clock, but still everybody is ready to have a academic. So after this educational movie and awareness movie, we are really now it's a platform for us to go for an academic session. Thank you, Menon sir and team.
Sir, thank you very much. Over to you, sir. Menon sir.
Thank you, Dr. Vasan Kalatkar, President, National President of Indian Academy of Pediatrics, Dr. G.P. Vasaraja, past President, Dr. Neelam Mohan, my distinguished colleague from Delhi and the President-elect of IAP, and Dr. Yogesh Pari, the Secretary of Indian Academy of Pediatrics. It's a bit late. We had a wonderful film which showed and highlighted the issues related to obesity and how we should tackle the problem of obesity in a clinic base. But obesity is not just a problem of patients, it's a problem of the society. And India has going to handle this problem in a much more diverse way in a community and national setup. I think in the last Man Ki Baat program, our respected Prime Minister has initiated a program of involving highly educated and active society members, 10 of them, to be actively participating in the obesity reduction program. Today, you must have all read about the great Lancet study, which says that 500 million children actually and adults will be facing the problem of the pandemic of obesity. To discuss all the issues related to how we define obesity, how he should handle obesity, is it just a medical problem alone, how at community level we should go ahead, educate the public, we have a distinguished team here. And it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Anurag Vajpayee, my distinguished student and colleague and a leading figure in the field of academics of pediatric endocrinology and current president of the Indian Society for Pediatric and Adolescent Endocrinology. Dr. Anurag Vajpayee is a distinguished alumni of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, from where he did his undergraduation and post-graduation. Subsequently, he was trained in the field of pediatric endocrinology under Professor George Werther in Australia and has come back and started the prestigious center, which is one of the distinguished centers which is providing fellowship program in pediatric endocrinology at the Regency Health City in Kanpur. Without wasting much time, I invite Dr. Anurag to start the proceeding by inviting his fellow colleagues and start the panel discussion. I also thank this opportunity to all my colleagues and office bearers of Indian Academy of Pediatrics for giving me an opportunity to be here during this discussion. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir, for the kind words of introduction. And it's been a wonderful experience. The last 1 hour, we have been seeing such nice initiatives being taken. I'd like to really thank from the bottom of my heart, as well as through the Society of Indian Pediatric Endocrine Society, Dr. Vasant, Dr. Yogesh, Dr. Sameer, Dr. Neelam Mohan, Dr. Vasaraj, for this wonderful work which has been done in terms of obesity awareness. And awareness is the key for improving the health and outcome of any section of the society. And pediatricians as well, we want to just update regarding what's happening in terms of obesity, how we can handle this menace better, what is there in terms of diagnosis, treatment, assessment. And I'm really honored to be joined today by a very eminent panel. Professor Somashekar, who doesn't need any introduction for any part of the country, well known in the field. I've got Professor Rajesh Khadgawat, who is a professor of Endocrinology at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. And I'm also joined by Dr. Saurabh Uppal, who is an eminent pediatric endocrinologist working in Jalandhar, also a joint secretary of Indian Society of Pediatric Endocrinology. I'd like to also express my thanks to Dr. Ravindra Kumar, who is here and who has been working hard in getting a lot of activities done in terms of pediatric endocrinology. Now, obesity is something which we have already discussed about as to the various aspects of obesity. We'll be talking more about the clinical aspects of obesity and why are we really worried about. So this is a 16-year-old boy with obesity whom I saw recently in the clinic, and we can see that he has a BMI which is significantly elevated, approximately 3 standard deviation score, huge waist circumference, and the child had a borderline level of TSH. So this is a child who is having grade 3 obesity. TSH was borderline, was advised thyroxine replacement. And people thought, including the treating physician as well as the family member, that the child will improve with thyroxine. Now, we'll be talking about through the course of this discussion that this clearly was the effect of obesity. The elevated TSH was the effect of obesity, not the cause of obesity. And what we should have focused was to look at complications. This child was a ticking time bomb, and within a year when he came to us, he already had developed frank diabetes, very high levels of ALT. So as we were discussing, these complications are becoming so much common in that perspective. So if you look globally, there has been a dramatic increase in terms of obesity across groups, but substantial increases happen in terms of the adolescents and children, and the mean BMI, in fact, has shifted by around 1.2 in that perspective. And we are seeing a massive epidemic in India across the country from that perspective. So there is a 1.4 to 1.7 increase in the mean BMI over this period from that perspective. In our own study of around 5,400 school children, we found a overwhelming 36% individuals who had either obesity or overweight in a Kanpur study in terms of the affluent school children. So this is a big chunk. And as Dr. Menon was saying, that we are going to face a big epidemic consequently. Why are we worried about childhood obesity? Because not only about complications. Now, there is a huge tracking which happens in a child with obesity. So if you have a child who is obese at approximately 18 years of age, there's a 80% chance of the obesity being tracking in adults, and lots of complications happening from that perspective. And this we have to be very worried about in that perspective. So we'll be talking about a lot of these issues today with our imminent panel using case-based scenarios. So we've got this first case, a 12-year-old boy, height is 155 centimeters, weight is 70 kg. Now, the first question, of course, which a pediatrician has to answer is it obesity? Can we use some parameter which can tell us quickly in that regard? So, Dr. Somashekar, we'll need to have your inputs on that, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for the very great introduction. And at this juncture, I thank our man of action, the leader, that the president, Dr. Vasant Kadalkarji, and the dynamic secretary, Dr. Yogesh Parikji, and the treasurer to our IAP is the treasurer, Dr. Atanu Batra, and all the team members who have been working on this most wonderful and the auspicious day. And once again, I thank also my co-panelist, Dr. Rajesh ji and Saurav Uppal ji and Ravindra Kumar ji, who is happened to be the HOD of my son, who is been pursuing his postgraduate degree, pathology in his institute. And let's go to the discussion per se. I think this is the million-dollar question that everybody, think about whether once we come across this kind of a children now, every day in practice we do come across, because it's become the shift to the right. It is not the undernutrition or SAM or MAM we are seeing. We are seeing more of obesity. So how do you go about? There is an yardstick, I think, which is I take this information and goes on the evidence base. That is the Indian Academy of Pediatrics has brought out with the revised guidelines on evaluation of prevention, how we can evaluate and manage. This was published, this is the latest publication, and in 2023, as per the publication, we can just plot, unless I think we do use the, immunization chart, but nevertheless, not bothered to use the growth chart, nor teaching the parents to plot their height, weight, and the BMI. This is the very interesting case, I should say. Next slide, sir. So, a 12-year-old boy presented with a height of 155 centimeter and the weight of 70 centimeter. I rather go into the plotting this height, weight, and this given chart. As you can see, I'm just plotting it, and you can see this child with height of this 155 and the weight of 70 kilos. And this will not stop with this plotting this. Where the next step I would think of, that is the BMI chart. I think this is the forgotten entity one should use, and think of using this BMI chart. That is very, very important. So how do you calculate? As per the 2015 charts, that overweight is 23 kg per square meter and obesity is 27 kg per square meter. And extreme obesity goes with a BMI of more than, I think, 120% of the 90th percentile of the 35 kgs per square meter. So the present weight and this height, I think, depicts with a BMI of 29.1. I think this is enough to say this is whether he goes into the obesity or not. I think this picture and plotting the his parameters in putting it in the graph, I think, speaks volume. I think we should use it in our regular day-to-day practice. I think make the parents to understand and realize, and so that they'll be well versed whether my child is growing normally or going into the overweight or obesity. This is one thing which I think, rather tell uniformly to all the practicing pediatricians to use this BMI chart in your routine day-to-day practice. Thank you, sir.
So our
Over
job,
to moderator, sir.
Yeah, so our job basically is not only to measure the weight and height, we have to measure the BMI. Now, there are a lot of tools which are really available, which will really help us calculate BMI directly, plot on the charts, but we all have access to these charts very easily. Now, Dr. Somashekar, do you think BMI is the sine qua non of obesity, or we have to think of other markers as well? Are there any limitations of BMI that you think of?
Yes, sir. Here, the thing is that because the key to the management lies with avoiding the measurements, I think there are a lot of things. But see, although sometimes we look at only the physiological, but the causes, rather, we should not miss the pathological. That is important. Because here the overestimate the muscularity also is, I think, once in practice. This is my own grandchild. I think my daughter used to comment that, see, Appa, he is very dull. He is not looking, normal. That is normal. After coming from play, he looks dull, and so that I should not look into screening into his endocrine aspect or anything like that. But at the same time, we have to also correlate with the ethnic effects on this fat correlation as well. So the puberty, that's fat adiposity and deposition, is also predominant during that period. All these things which probably limits the BMI calculation. So coming to the adiposity markers, I think BMI goes a long way, and waist circumference comes into the next parameter. That is anything above 70th percentile. If it is more, the adiposity is excess and he is obese. And the other parameters, of course, not many use in our routine practice. Skin fold thickness. We have to use the Herpendon's calipers to use the skin fold thickness. Other things, I think, I don't know much about it. I'm not using in my practice, sir.
So I think the most important message that's already been given by Dr. Somashekar is the BMI is the single marker to look at. We use as endocrinologists for research and clinical practice other markers like the DEXA scan or bioimpedance. But one study which we conducted in a large school study, what we really found out that if you look at one single parameter that correlates best with fat, it is actually BMI, standard deviation score. So forget about everything else. If the pediatrician in a busy practice just looks at the BMI, they would be able to get the right diagnosis. Just as a side point, children who are less than 5 years of age, we should be using weight for height or weight for length standard deviation score. Levels above 3 SDS are considered to be obese. So BMI beyond 5 years and weight for length SDS below 5 years is what is recommended in perspective. In that case, the WHO cutoffs are usually used in that perspective. So the key practice points clearly is that we should, as a pediatrician, measure height and weight at each visit. estimate BMI after 5 years of age, plot on the chart, and the IAP cutoffs are based upon adult extrapolation from 27 and 23 BMI, which should be taken care of. Now, once we know this child is obese, we need to know whether it's a physiological or a pathological cause. 98% of children who come to us with obesity have a physiological form with normal growth, puberty, and development. Pathological causes are extremely rare. They would include genetic or monogenic causes in which we will have hyperphagia, visual abnormalities, or pubertal abnormalities. Secondary causes like hypothalamic or drugs, where you will have clear-cut history of hyperphagia. Endocrine causes are rare, but they should be suspected in a short and plump child. The most important thing to look at in an obese child is actually the height. If the child is tall, endocrine and other causes become less likely. The key questions are, is it pathological? What is the cause and what are the complications in that perspective? Now, if you want to look at physiological versus pathological obesity, of course, if the growth is delayed, if the puberty is delayed and the development is delayed, we are looking at pathological causes. Normal growth, vision, and puberty indicates more of a physiological cause. Endocrine causes like hypothyroidism, growth hormone deficiency, pseudohypoparathyroidism, Cushing syndrome would be around 1 to 2% in a pediatrician's perspective, and they will typically have a short and a plump child. So short and plump child, we need definite evaluation along with delayed puberty. We may also think of genetic obesity, particularly if it's happening too soon, before 2 to 5 years of age, if it's severe, rapidly progressing, if there is a strong family history, or there are syndromic features like hyperphagia, developmental delay, visual problems, or neurological features. So do not do unnecessary etiological workup unless it's absolutely indicated based upon that. Look for features of developmental delay. Look for brachymetacarpia, which may be a marker of pseudohypoparathyroidism. You may have infantile hypotonia, rapid weight gain, small hands, that is Prader-Willi syndrome, polydactyly indicating Bardet-Biedl syndrome, visual abnormalities indicating certain syndromes, and of course, pubertal development. So look at the holistic picture to get the clue. So the approach is very simple. Look at features of obesity. If the growth, puberty, and every onset is normal, this is exogenous, do a complication screening. Growth is slow, think of endocrine causes. Early onset, and there is developmental delay or dysmorphism, think of syndromic causes. Otherwise, you go for targeted panels. So a balance of clinical parameters will decide on that. So we'll now move forward using these case scenarios to implement this approach. 12-year-old boy with obesity, height is 160, weight is 70 kilograms, TSH is 7.91, and has been advised thyroxine. So Dr. Rajesh, do you agree with this diagnosis here?
TSH 7.9 is just borderline elevation of the TSH, could be part of effect of obesity as well. And as is the standard practice, if TSH is less than 10, usually we do not treat, because at this TSH, T4 levels are absolutely normal. So if T4 levels are normal, there are no advantages of treatment with thyroxine. So there is no point in treating it. This borderline elevation could be part of obesity as well.
And if you
So
look at the
here are,
growth pattern here,
yeah. So here are two cases we are seeing. If age is less than height age and weight age, it's more likely to be nutritional in that case. And in the other panel, you are seeing height age is less than age, which is less than weight age. So such child, short plump child, are more suggestive of a diagnosis of endocrine cause as a cause of obesity.
so in this case, if you look at the growth chart, Dr. Rajesh, that we see clearly
Yeah.
this child is having
This
weightage is more, height age is also more. So this makes nutritional cause more likely.
more likely of that. More likely of that, and TSH is borderline elevation, which is not requiring thyroid supplementation.
So as
And
Dr. Rajesh
hy-
has said, yeah. So maybe
yeah,
you can
yeah,
just
go
say,
ahead.
yeah. So as Dr. Rajesh said, this TSH elevation is actually an effort on part of the body to, in a way, compensate for that by increasing TRH. It's the effect and not the cause of obesity. So what will be the key messages you like to give, Dr. Rajesh, here?
So mild elevation of TSH is common in obesity, which could be a compensatory mechanism. There is no need to treat a mildly elevated TSH if they are less than 10, because it's not going to benefit in any way. If TSH is between 5 to 10, we may consider measuring TPO antibody. However, there are no, again, advantage of even TPO positive and less than 10 we are treating.
And again, normal height is indicative more of a nutritional cause. So this is something which we really explored in our study, and we found that around 30% of individuals who are obese had a milder elevation of thyroid, and most of them improved with treatment, with the weight loss. So definitely no need for thyroxine supplementation here. The next case is a 12-year-old girl whose height is 130 and weight is 58 kgs. She underwent screening test and they were found to be normal. She was reassured and now presented with rapid weight gain. Dr. Saurabh, do you agree with the line of management by the initial treating team?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. So there we have a 12-year-old girl. Obviously, you don't expect a 12-year-old girl to have a height of 130 centimeters. And there is rapid weight gain. Weight is 58 kg. So before we reassure, the first thing we should look at is the height age and the weight age. So if in any child the weight is increasing and correspondingly the height is not increasing, it just means that something is holding back the height from increasing. This is the characteristic pattern that happens in a non-typical case of obesity. And as we saw in the previous slide, up to 95 to 98% of obese children that we see will have the routine typical obesity which is nutritional. So their height age and weight age both will be increased, but here you see that the weight age is more but the height age is less. So it is wrong to reassure this child. It is wrong to say that you can just treat him with dietary restriction, and a further diagnostic quest for an endocrine cause should be made. So here, if so what are the common endocrine causes? We've already discussed, and all of them will be short and plump. No, none of them would be tall and plump. So this child needs further investigation.
So this is the clinical picture. I think most of you will get a clue. They are classical features of Cushing syndrome, which may not have been there earlier, but now they have developed. And the further workup was suggestive of Cushing syndrome. So I think, what are your key messages here to the pediatricians, Dr. Saurabh?
So the key messages are that whenever whenever an obese child is not tall, think of a non-routine cause, think of an endocrine cause. So short and plump, always work up for an endocrine cause. They need a clinical and a laboratory evaluation. And it is very essential that we reach to the bottom of the diagnosis, because most of these endocrine causes are not will not go away without treatment. So it is very important to have a thorough investigation in these children.
I think the key aim of this all panel discussion is to have not too much workup in those 95 to 98% who are physiological, but to not miss also those 2 to 5% which may be significant. So next case is also very interesting. 3-year-old girl with rapid weight gain. Height is 84 and she's already 26 kgs. The parents say that she's always wanting to feed all the time since birth. Dr. Somashekar, do you think this child needs lifestyle counseling?
No, this further I'll think of in this child particularly because this is presenting since birth. I think this is something abnormal. And I would rather think it is because any presentation of obesity and this child is hyperphasic. So here I would rather think of a pointer here or that, because anything which presents before 2 to 3 years of age, rather think of a genetic obesity. And here this child with severe, obese. So definitely I will again pointer towards genetic obesity. And here, next thing is, as you have rightly said, the family history and the consanguinity I look into. So this child with hyperphagia, if it is other comorbid like development delay, vision, hearing, all those things are normal or not. And what about the neurological evaluation, or this child syndromic? This is how I go into one by one, step by step, and look into other causes of congenital, genetic obesity. So how do you go about looking at, so whether it fits in with the obesity criteria or not, whether it needs a workup or not? So how do you go about it? Because this child, particularly, as I said earlier, presenting with severe hyperphagia since birth, yes, of course. Next is this BMI is more than 3 standard deviation, and there is a genetic cause. But here, the child with normal thyroid function, cortisol level, and other parathormone. So what is it? Could be due to it fits in with obesity? Yes, of course. So how do you go about working for endocrine, or what about the complications? So with normal development, or what about the vision, or is there any other infection, comorbid conditions? I will just one-to-one, I'll exclude all these things. It is not syndromic, then I'll probably pin with, is this only with a congenital problem? There is a leptin gene defect. I think this is needless to say. I think workup is very easy, because this is a child presenting since birth with obesity, with hyperphagia, with this markers of height 84, weight 26, and with the normal parameters and normal development, vision, infection. I think one should not think, confuse with everything except with the genetic defect leptin. That's all, sir. Thank you.
And now with the availability of targeted panels, we are getting many more cases of genetic causes. So your message, sir, on this case would be?
So point number 1, because of the early onset. Point number 2, hyperphagia. Point number 3, syndromic features. Point number 4, I think these are the pointers that to conclude that this child has got a genetic obesity, sir.
So as for the general dictum, if the disorder is happening too soon, segregating in a family, syndromic features, or if it is severe, we have to think of a genetic cause in any etiology, and that's true also for obesity. So don't do unnecessary workup for genetic causes, but this case requires a genetic workup clearly. Next case is a 7-year-old boy with rapid weight gain. Height is 111, slightly on the lower side. Weight is 42 kgs. A very significant history is there that the child was having hypotonia in infancy and was not failing to thrive. Suddenly, the weight gain has started. So, Dr. Rajesh, what do you think are the clues that we are seeing here?
So, as we have discussed in previous case, infantile hypotonia and failure to thrive are important causes to think of syndromic cause of obesity. As shown here, there it could be pseudo-hypoparathyroidism, where a brachymetacarpal syndrome, or Prader-Willi syndrome, or Bardet-Biedl syndrome, Elstrom syndrome. These are the physical stigmata of these cases, which forces that we can think of having a syndromic cause of obesity. And if height is 111 and weight is 42, hypotonia, hyperphagia, which is one of the essential features of all these syndromic cause of short stature with developmental delay. They have a desire to eat all the time, which is very difficult to suppress. Thyroid function, cortisol, and all other features are normal. And if you see the hands of this child, this gives a clear clue that we can consider a possibility of Prader-Willi syndrome in these cases. And nowadays we have genetic workup which is easily available. We can send a sample and which confirms the diagnosis of Prader-Willi syndrome.
So, what is the importance, Professor Rajesh, of diagnosing Prader-Willi in particular?
Diagnosing Prader-Willi is if it's a genetic test positive, this confirms diagnosis. This gives clear insight into the further management. This gives a clear insight into whether we can consider the treatment with the growth hormone in these cases. So that becomes important and segregates from the other syndromic causes of short stature, where we do not use growth hormone for the management of these cases.
So as Dr. Rajesh, you already mentioned, what would you like to give messages about Prader-Willi? When should the pediatricians be thinking about them?
If there is infantile hypotonia and increased appetite from quite early childhood, even during infancy, they have an appetite which cannot be satisfied every time they are ready to eat. Hyperphagia, the infantile hypotonia, and weight gain starting very early. These are the features which could suggest possibility of the Prader-Willi syndrome in these cases.
So again, syndromic causes we should not miss because of so many implications. Another case, 8-year-old girl with obesity. She is also short, is obese. There is hyperphagia. Very good history was taken by the fellow that there is a problem in the night vision. So Dr. Saurabh, which way are we heading towards?
So again, an 8-year-old girl, her height, age, and weight age are discrepant. So we are not looking at a routine case of obesity, and there is increased appetite. And as Dr. Khadgawat very wisely pointed out, increased appetite is a common feature of all these, which are having a serious underlying cause, but a night vision problem. So as the flowchart also showed, that if there is any dysmorphism or any vision puberty or early problem, then you have to look at a syndromic cause. So here, once the night vision history comes, you need to have a thorough physical examination, and there could be pointers in the physical examination. Like in this child, we can see a polydactyly, and polydactyly with a night vision problem and a syndromic presentation of obesity, we are looking definitely at a diagnosis like a Bardet Biedl syndrome.
So clearly, but this is very clear that we have discussed in that perspective. So now we have talked about the various causes. We talked about physiological causes. We talked about endocrine causes, about genetic and syndromic causes. Now, once we know that the obesity is in particular not because of any problem. So many patients come to us with obesity who do not have a cause as discussed, but their obesity itself becomes a disease. So then the big question is, in somebody who has quote unquote exogenous constitutional physiological obesity with normal growth development, what do we need to do in terms of complications? So we need to understand that obesity pretty much affects every part of the body from head to toe. This is because of the overspill of the fat. The fat cannot be stored beyond a level in the skin, goes to the liver, causes visceral adiposity, causing a lot of complications. This includes problems in the liver, causing increased levels of ALT, which can be picked up on ultrasound. Of course, type 2 diabetes, which we pick up via glucose tolerance. Theoretically, in that perspective, HbA1c and insulin in particular are something which are a bit vary in that perspective, because insulin, when we measure in blood, is going to give us information only about the blood insulin, while we are concerned about total insulin in that perspective. Check for lipid and blood pressure. Look for sleep questionnaire, polysomnography. Bone health is also affected. So there are multiple factors which are affected. So every part of the body is affected from that perspective. However, sometimes obesity may cause false concerns which can come to us, including things like buried penis, physiological genovalgum exaggerated by obesity, and gynecomastia, for which no workup is required. So we have this 8-year-old boy with small phallic size, reportedly small phallic size, height is 130 centimeters, weight is 44 kgs, testicular volume is 2 ml. Dr. Somsekhar, the parents are really concerned that this child actually has a DSD, because now everybody talks about all these sexual development issues and he has been teased. So what do you think is the most likely cause of this child with obesity and a small phallic size?
So here is a child, 8-year-old boy with the height of 130 and the weight of 44. And looking at the examination of the genitalia, the testis reveals 2 ml. I think this is the most commonest concern that one often could have come across in every one of our office practice. And recently, one of the civil servants' son also brought to me. Similarly, I could examine head to foot, but nothing was found except the short phallus. How do you look at? Just stretch the phallus and see. Looking at the stretched penile length comes if it is normal, and by measuring the archidometer, we can measure the testis volume. If it is normal, I think one should need to only reassure. So the bottom line is that avoiding unnecessary workup with the physiological, at the same time, not to miss any pathological. That is my bottom line. So here is a child, the testis volume is normal, no polydactyly, SPL length is 6 centimeter. So considering the fact that I will reassure them, ask them to probably follow it up, and may review after 1 or 2 months, everything goes well. So we need to probably take time in reassuring them and teaching them about what is normalcy, not to indulge and submitting for unnecessary pathological investigations, sir. That is my concern, sir.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Somsekhar. And this is clearly a case in which we have a buried penis, which is causing a confusion in that regards. And all we have to do is to do a proper stretch penile length while suppressing the suprapubic fat in that perspective. Next case is a 12-year-old boy whose BMI is significantly elevated, 28 kg per meter square, plus 2.2 SDS, has acanthosis, there is family history of diabetes. Now, what tests should be done, Dr. Rajesh? So what clinical and biochemical things you would like to look, Professor Rajesh, in terms of the complications of obesity here?
As we have seen that BMI is clearly high, 28 kg per meter square. Child has history of acanthosis and family history of diabetes, which clearly suggests that we should rule out diabetes in these children. So would like to go for oral glucose tolerance test with 1.75 gram per kg glucose, but the maximum is 75 gram. And that gives a clear picture whether this child is having diabetes or not, and would like also to do fasting lipid profile along with the oral glucose tolerance. These are the two important tests. Would like to measure uh, blood pressure of this child with the appropriate cuff size, and would also look for renal and liver function test in these cases to just to find out what abnormalities this child is having.
So what are the cutoffs the
So
pediatrician should look at?
Cutoffs which have been used for diagnosis of diabetes is remain same whether it's an adult population or a pediatric population. Fasting blood glucose less than 100 milligram percent is considered as a normal. If it's between 100 to 125 comes in pre-diabetes, and anything more than 125, 126 or more than 126 makes a diagnosis of diabetes in these cases. However, diagnosis should not be based on a single value. If one value is abnormal, that should be repeated on very next day, and if both the values are abnormal, we can confidently make a diagnosis of diabetes in these cases. If we are doing oral glucose tolerance test, the 2 hours blood glucose value less than 140 is normal. 140 to 199 comes in pre-diabetes range, and if it's equal to or more than 200 milligram per dl, then this makes diagnosis of diabetes in these cases. Similarly, for HbA1c, less than 5.7 is normal, 5.7 to 6.4 is pre-diabetes, and more than 6.5 is clearly abnormal, indicative of a diagnosis of diabetes in this young boy. Since he has acanthosis, family history, so more likely to be a case of type 2 diabetes in this obese child.
The other parameters, of course, are
Other
lipid
parameters,
profiles. Yeah.
other parameters, according to the Indian Academy of Pediatrics revised guideline, these are the cutoffs available: acceptable range, borderline range, and abnormal range. And most important would be for LDL, anything less than 110 is normal, 110 to 129 is in borderline range, where we can think of starting nutritional management strategy, or if it's persistently elevated more than 130 can be considered. If they are more than 10 years old, can be considered for starting pharmacotherapy in these cases.
So thanks a lot, Professor Rajesh. And Professor Rajesh has done a lot of work on lipid profile levels in Indian children as well. And these references align to that as well from that perspective. Now we have a 14-year-old girl with obesity, BMI is 28 again. Blood sugar, in fact, was done as far as Dr. Khatgawat's recommendation. Fasting sugar is high, 2R value is high, HbA1c is high. So this is a clear-cut case of what looks like a type 2 diabetes in that perspective. So, Dr. Saurabh, what would be the next step if you are called by a pediatrician that we are living around 200 kilometers from you and you have got these readings of high fasting, high 2R value? What would be your recommendations in that perspective?
So here it is pointing, as Professor Khadgawat said in the last slides, it's beyond the cutoffs, and the cutoffs are the same. So this looks like type 2 diabetes. However, the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes is very tricky in this age group, because usually people think that if it is a child and it is diabetes, it is type 1. So it is very important in these cases, if the person is far away and there's one test they ask what is to be confirmed, I think before confirming that it is type 2 and going on a direction of that treatment of type 2, it's always if available, GAD65 antibodies can be done in these children, because if the child is antibody negative and with a classic clinical presentation of type 2 diabetes with an HbA1c of 8.2, then we can safely tell them that this child should not be immediately put on the insulin regimens as for type 1 diabetes. So, if available, GAD65 should be advised to them, and a thorough clinical history also usually helps us diagnose type 2. So,
That's a very big message from Dr. Saurabh, and from the ISPAT guidelines, which we have quoted here, clearly say that there are so many obese type 1 now at diagnosis that it's not safe to just label somebody as type 2 without the autoimmunity, because then you have a risk of developing DK if you start them on oral medication. I think that's a very, very important point to highlight. So now this case GAD is negative. How do you now propose in terms of treatment, and what is your counseling in terms of how this will progress? Now this patient has come to you in the OPD. The parents want to know how quickly the disease will go off, and does he need a medicine at all?
So, a very important point that everybody should understand is that diagnosis of type 2 diabetes in an adolescent is definitely a big problem for two reasons. Number one, that for somebody to have that level of insulin resistance to develop type 2 diabetes in such an age group, the insulin resistance is actually very severe. And it has been shown in many studies that beta cell destruction in adolescents who get type 2 diabetes progresses at least 4 times faster than adults who get type 2 diabetes in their 40s. So that means we have a serious problem on our hands. Compounding it, the second thing is we do not have a lot of treatment options which are approved in this age group. And as the previous slide showed, that this is the today's study, that a big proportion, so can we have the previous slide? A huge proportion of these children, when started on therapy, they fail therapy. So their insulin resistance keeps on progressing, whether they are on single drug, double drug therapy. So the outcomes are not very good. Now, talking about outcomes, because we have a limited number of drugs which are approved, the mainstay of therapy would be either metformin or insulin. So everybody should understand that if the HbA1c at diagnosis is more than 8, then only starting on an oral drug like metformin would not help. You need insulin initially, and once with insulin, you have your HbA1c less than 8%, then you go for an oral pharmacotherapy with metformin. Till some years back, this was the only option available to us for treatment of children with type 2 diabetes. But now, with the advent of GLP-1 receptor agonist, we have more options to treat them. Also in children, SGLT2 inhibitors are also coming up as an add-on therapy to metformin. And overall, the armamentarium is limited. The mainstay of therapy will always be a very strict lifestyle management, because with loss in weight, their insulin resistance would come down. And this will be our primary therapy with oral hypoglycemics once the HbA1c is less than 8.5.
Very well put, Dr. Saurabh. Type 2 diabetes in adolescents is extremely severe disease. You have to hit early, hit hard. You cannot just wait and watch. Our study of around 40 patients followed for 4 years clearly showed that within 4 years, 60% were requiring polytherapy. So this is something which is not simple. We should not brush it under the carpet. The main aim is to prevent it from happening, because once it happens, it's not an easy thing to go for from that perspective. Now we have a 16-year-old girl with obesity, BMI is 30, acanthosis is there, there is family history of diabetes. What lifestyle measures will you suggest, and how will you counsel the family, Dr. Somsekhar sir?
Sir, you are muted.
Dr. Somsekhar, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. I will look for the other comorbid conditions, like is there any acanthosis or with family history of diabetes, and all those things if excluded. I think the pointer here is only set a weight goal. I think the U-turn film has taught a lot of us and we became speechless. I think this will be screened in every, I think we should inform from the IAP that right to the ministry that this short film must be screened in every cinema theaters. I think at least to this month, I think the education, creating awareness goes a long way. I think that is enough. That is our goal. Of course, for everything, we should set a goal, and dieting is the paramount important. So there is no question of fluctuating and I will eat this, that. No, nothing like that. So with normal eating, cut the carb and increase the protein, whatever I think to be followed. I think we have the My Food Plate concept and the 5G concept, the grains, and dietary products, and the fruits and vegetables and nuts and other milk and milk products that I think we should teach them the healthy eating habits and eat the rainbow habits. I think the drinks, which as far as the advertisements, I think Rekha Harish Madam has been working on this NCD chapter, is working a lot of issues and aspects to how to curtail this reading the label. I think Upendra ji, as a president, has worked hard to probably create an awareness about the reading the label. I think this we should create among all the parents and increase the physical activity. I think parents should be a role model and you must be a rock star. Then this, small tips about 10 to 10. I think 10 hours of sleep and no more than 2 hours per day of screen time, and less than 2 years, no screen time. I think IAP has brought out with many guidelines, and get at least 1 hour of moderate, vigorous physical activity. That is the goal we should set. And whenever you feel to drink anything, I think drink only water. That is the zero sugar drink. And with that, I think be a set a role model. We should probably create an end to this obesity. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir, for the wonderful words. So main aim is to keep a gradual weight loss with lifestyle measures. But sometimes, like this child whom we discussed earlier, who now has so many problems happening, has significant obesity, all complications are there, and everybody is asking that some medicines, whether they can be used. A lot of people are talking about in the social media, in the celebrities, they're using some medications. So, Dr. Rajesh, what are the therapeutic options that we have in terms of obesity, and do you really recommend them in terms of management?
Although, as Professor Somshekhar has clearly explained, that first option of treatment in these cases is nutritional management and increasing physical activity. Although therapeutic options are available, Orlistat is approved if after the year of 10, 12 years, it can reach to decline in BMD by 3 to 5%. Although metformin some people use for reduction in weight, but metformin is not approved and not effective in reducing weight. Metformin is only effective if there is a type 2 diabetes associated. Other drugs, phentermine, topiramate, is available after the age of 12 years, which lead to 5 to 10% reduction in the BMI. Newer two drugs, liraglutide and semaglutide, are increasingly available now. They are approved in the age group of 10 to 18 years and lead to significant reduction in weight. But these two drugs are little bit on costlier side. Experience is not much limited, but these are the two upcoming drugs which are being used for the management of obesity in pediatric age group.
So I think the main message of Professor Rajesh as well is to not reach to the level when you need the drugs. You should start acting early from that perspective. Now, again, this child had everything was done. There was no response to medicine and lifestyle. And Dr. Saurabh, now the big question which often parents ask is, what about bariatric surgery? Should we go ahead with bariatric surgery in this scenario?
So bariatric surgery in a nutshell is a desperate measure, and a desperate measure which is definitely not the panacea. Now, bariatric surgery, especially in adolescents with obesity, has its own share of controversies. We do not still know which is the best procedure, and it comes with a huge burden of one, relapse, and second, the complications that are associated with bariatric surgery. So, if any parent at 16 years asks us, the first thing should be the child should have completed puberty. Second, the child's BMI should be at least more than 35 with comorbidities or 40, and it should be having a serious effect on the quality of life of child. And it is definitely a desperate measure. A psychosocial assessment is very important for this, and uh, the decision to uh, offer bariatric surgery should be taken now with that mindset and that knowledge that the drugs that we have available and the drugs which are coming in pipeline, once used in a proper titrated manner, can help us achieve weight loss which is equivalent to bariatric surgery. Now, drugs like tirzepatide and ritutride, and also combination with GLP-1, with the GIP-1 and glucagon, can help us achieve a bariatric equivalent weight loss. So subjecting a child to surgery in today's date and time is actually a very, very difficult and a tricky decision. We should not look at bariatric surgery as a solution to obesity, because we have seen in so many cases, so many patients, that the weight comes back after some time with the share of the problems that come from having a short gut.
So bariatric surgery clearly is a last-ditch effort to save a life. We have used in a couple of patients, particularly with syndromic causes, somebody who has got multiple complications, but should be done only after a lot of thought. So the main message that we want to give is that we need to work early to break the cycle, starting right from the mother's nutrition during pregnancy, treat gestational diabetes, improve perinatal environment, avoid smoking. Primary prevention should include nutritional interventions, lifestyle, and screening. Once somebody develops obesity, start early detection, do lifestyle, prevent complications. We should not reach the stage when the complication happens, because then we are just treating the disorders for life. So the key message here is that childhood obesity is usually nutritional, rarely endocrine, but think of pathology. If somebody has a poor growth, development, or vision, growth, puberty, development are the key. TSH elevation is common, doesn't need treatment, and always look for complications. Try to prevent it early. And that's what the message we want to give it on behalf of our panel, as well as our esteemed experts which are there. I would request Professor Menon to kindly guide us with regards to his own experience on this vast field, sir.
Thank you, Anurag, and a distinguished panel of your colleagues, Dr. Rajesh Khadgawat, Saurabh Uppal, Dr. Professor Somshekhar, and Ravindra. I think you have covered the vast topic of obesity in childhood with very interesting case scenarios, and you have given very clear instructions about how to interpret obesity with conventional anthropometric measures, when to decide whether it is pathological versus physiological, why you should not be more bothered about laboratory results, you should be more careful about your own clinical evaluation, and where you have to step in with appropriate therapy, whether it is medical or whether it is surgical or whether it is just a question of lifestyle measures. I have seen that pediatric endocrinologists see only a tip of the iceberg of the problem with obesity. We have to actually educate, and not only the pediatricians but also the community health workers, about diagnosing and referring children with obesity with appropriate diagnosis and aid measures at a very early age to prevent life upsetting comorbidities. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. I'll also request Dr. Ravindra, who is the Secretary of Indian Society for Pediatric and Endocrinology, and who's been working very hard to set up this panel to share his own experience and the way forward that we are going to take in this direction.
Thank you, Dr. Anurag. Already, you and your whole team, I think, has very clearly described how to tackle, this tickling bum, or which is rather than the obesity. Now it has become a globesity. I think it's a new term is coming in the market, that it is a globesity, because every state, every country is being affected by this obesity. So thank you very much, because every part has been very beautifully covered. And thank you, Vasant sir, Parik sir, Sameer sir, and Atanu sir. And such a beautiful movie in just 18 minutes, and they have given very crisp message. And you, Anurag sir, in your whole team has clearly depicted how to investigate, how to manage, and how to see all these patients with obesity. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Ravindra. I just have the final words from the panelists before we hand over to the organizers. So, Dr. Rajesh, your final messages.
Final message is measure BMI, keep a watch on BMI, and educate every time parents with the nutritional management of obesity.
Professor Somashekar, sir.
So look for the physiological. At the same time, not to miss the pathological, because we should not tax any patients nor the parents by unnecessary investigations. So you should have the knowledge. And as a general pediatrician, what I would say is that because we are likely to miss. So we are likely to, because in the increasing consumerism, rather we need to protect our skin. So we would rather go for unnecessary investigation, that we seek the guidance of the endocrinologist and the society for further investigations, and of course the second opinion. If you have any doubt, of course, get the second opinion. And my bottom line is that we are not rather likely to miss any pathological. That is my bottom line. And please do measure, as you have rightly said, the growth chart must be utilized fruitfully with every parents to be convinced to measure by themselves or as their routine. That is my concern, sir. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Saurabh.
In a busy OPD, height, age, and weight age should always be kept top of mind, and that can really screen which children need more time and which children need less time in their evaluation. And basic nutritional counseling should be a part of every consultation now.
Thank you, Saurabh. And just to highlight that as part of our Indian Society of Pediatric Endocrinology, we've set up multiple working groups with this executive, and one of the working group is exclusively working on obesity, which will develop multiple presentations for healthcare workers, including doctors. And it will also like to advocate with the governmental agencies to work towards and work very closely with IAP in this very, very important field. So at the end, on behalf of the entire panel and the Indian Society of Pediatric Endocrinology, I'd like to thank all the organizers for providing us with this opportunity to be part of this wonderful program. Again, congratulate for the entirely excellent movie, which will have a huge impact on the pediatricians and the patients across the country. Thanks to Dr. Vasant, Dr. Neelam, Dr. Vasavraj, Dr. Sameer, and Dr. Yogesh Parik and Dr. Atanu for that. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Yes, Sameer.
Sameer ji.
Sameer bhai.
Fantastic. I mean, wonderful topic and very well moderated, very well spoken by the panelists, and of course, PSN Menon sir and Dr. Ravindra Kumar also. My only point is that because we work in a similar field of a chronic problem, I think the most crucial part is sitting with that parent repeatedly. So we do it any monthly counseling. Just all of you said very nicely, sitting with that parent, answering each and every question and solving his every problem. Only that is, I mean, of course, the knowledge about insulin and everything else is very important. So I would suggest, and all of you are very good at the part which you said, where you gave more importance to parent coaching. And we call it now coaching rather than counseling, because karna kya is also very important. Feel kya ho raha hai, that is important, but ye karo, ye mat karo. So we call that coaching. That was very well brought out by our panel. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So
Sameer ji,
thank you
my
very
kind
much, sir.
request is that please write to the IT department, Ministry of Information Technology, cut short this film and to be screened in every cinema theaters. I think this will probably have a great impact in the mass media if it goes well.
So thank you, Dr. Sameer Bhai and Dr. Somsekhar, for your valuable inputs. And it was excellent panel discussion. Dr. Anurag Bajpai sir, you have moderated, and all the panelists, Dr. Utpal, Dr. Rajesh, and Dr. Somsekhar, my dear friend. So it was very useful to the general pediatrician, and Dr. Ravindra specifically wanted to be the specific role of the general pediatrician in panel discussion, and Dr. Somsekhar have given this justice to this role. So whatever the key messages, BMI, use of the growth charts by every pediatrician, and the physiological and the pathological, our obesity or whatever the causes, we need to address this. So thank you very much. Now I invite my dear friend Dr. Atanu Badra for the official vote of thanks.
If I may be allowed, Dr.
Thank you, Jogesh sir, and it was a great evening. We had a first time film on obesity coming up. I think I thank Dr. Vasant Khaletkar, Dr. Neelam Mohan, Dr. Vasav Raj sir for coming up with this brilliant idea, and Dr. Jogesh sir for assisting them to have this deliver this film and on this special day obesity day. So the day was also very significant. And I thank Dr. Deepak Ugra sir for facilitating of making of this movie, and all those who participated, especially Dr. Upendra Kenji Wadekar, who is a natural actor, as Dr. Sameer said. Dr. Sameer compared and put the events in a string of flow of events was in a stream. So thank you, Dr. Sameer, for planning it whole thing out. And Dr. Supriya Shude, she was supposed to come, and of course her inputs and the thing that she would be with this obesity of the Prime Minister's campaign. So I think this would be helpful for IIP to reach all the masses with this event. And our brilliant pediatric endocrinology team. So I think it was real. I only think that many people are there in the YouTube who had, and the recording would be there, of course, for the help of everyone. So Dr. Bajpayee, Dr. Rajesh, Dr. Rajendra, Dr. Somshekhar sir, Dr. Upal, and of course the whole team who just decided that they will have this of this special day, and all of us were fortunate to be present there. So thanks on behalf of Indian Academy of Pediatrics for all of you to spending the evening with us, and we hope to have go about with this event and extend it to all of you so that all of you can participate in your own branches about the Obesity Awareness Day. Today, in fact, in Calcutta, we had a walk in the center of Calcutta by Indian Academy of Pediatrics. So similarly, all across the country, we had awareness programs. So thanks. IIP is going great, and we are involving the social media, the masses also. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Anuji. And now we invite you, all of you, for the tomorrow's program, Tipali Education by the Essence of the Experience, third edition at 2:30 p.m. So please join us. Have a academic feast tomorrow afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity. Thank you.
And
Good
thank
night, sir.
you, P.S. Menon, sir, for the being with us as a special guest, sir.
Good
Satish
night and
Samaster.
thank you, everybody. Good night.
Neelam man, thank you.
Thank you, Neela madam.
Palji, thank you.
Good night.
Yeah, good
Good
night.
night, sir. Good night. Good night.
Ravindra ji, take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yogesh bhai. Thank you to all.
Thank you, bhai. Thank you.
Sumesh
Geeta Patil, madam.
Ravinder ji, Satish bhai.